we're back with the last beer. Who wants to start first? Dave, why don't you go first? I see that you're very anxious to talk about this one.
It tastes of Jacob's Green Crackers because I just had it. It's probably brewed by Jacob's. I don't like it, to be honest. Maybe it'll grow on me. There's a sweetness to it, and it might be an amber ale of some sort. It might be possibly a lightly hopped amber ale. It could be red. I'm not on. We just go through all the colours.
All right, let's give you a little time to think about it. John, microphone is in front of you.
Yeah, that's that. It smells and tastes like a big beer. I would say it's. I don't know. It's almost Belgian. It's like that's a big beer. I'm getting a lot of fruit aroma, and again, it's almost cloyingly sweet. There's a lot of body in it. It's a fairly full-bodied beer. Mm-hmm. I can't quite pin it. It's like an old ale or something. It's like just something that's I don't know, a big ale is what I would say.
Okay, Ben, the microphone is in front of you.
I like it. I know it's got that sweetness, and it's got a big mouthfeel, and it's unlike anything else we've had today. It's obviously an Irish beer, but it's not a very Irish style, I would have said. There's a very kind of stewed fruit, even though there's the sweetness, which is coming with the alcohol. I'd imagine this is quite a strong beer. Mm-hmm. It's got a nice bitter kick on the finish, and a long finish. It's I like it. I'll let other people talk before I make my guess.
Your guess, okay. Kieran.
When John said Belgian, I was thinking along the same lines. It's got a big yeasty nose, which can be a little bit off-putting at first, but as you kind of get into it, my first impression was a bit like Dave. I don't like that, but I actually do like it now. I think it's very, very different to the other beers we've been having, and you kind of need to
adjust your palate
and adjust your expectations, and you realise that this is a big, thick beer. So I think like everyone else, it's big. It's quite boozy. It's not overly. It's not, but it's got a nice warming finish that it's not harsh boozy, but it has a nice warming finish. It has it's kind of a yeast-driven beer, I think. It's I think a lot of the character of it is from yeast and malt rather than hops. It's not a hoppy. It reminds me of a Belgian red kind of way. So.
Okay, Dave, you had a chance to taste it a little more.
I still don't like it. It wouldn't be a style I would probably go for. I will change my initial judgment and say that, first, I suppose because of what we had previous, I was thinking, is this beer off, but then I suppose when the lads are mentioning Belgian, I suppose I wasn't thinking along the lines of it could be possibly Belgian beer because, Irish
it
styles.
Is an Irish brewed beer.
Irish brewed beers aren't normally in the style of a Belgian ale, I do know there's one in the west kind of in Mayo direction, right in Westport, so that could be kind of that kind of a style, It could be a Mescan beer, you never know. But no, even though it's a style I wouldn't go for, I was probably a bit harsh on it and said I didn't like it because I suppose we went from pale ales to porters, and it was a bit of a shock up front first,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We have water for you to clean your palate. We have the crackers as well, but the palate takes some time, a little longer to change, to adapt to a new beer. So, apology when you're beer number 6. It can be sometimes a little hard. John, let's get back to you.
Yeah, I'm still like a big beer. It's all fruit and sweetness. I can't quite pick out a style. I would have said definitely it's a Belgian influenced beer. ABV, I'm thinking up around 8-9%, somewhere around there. I wouldn't say maybe 8.5. I would say
8.5.
Yeah. Okay. So, but it's a big beer. As regards what colour it is now, I don't know. It's very hard to tell. Like, I'm guessing it's kind of it's probably a red to maybe touching on, kind of copper red, those kind of colours. But no, it's nice, but it's not offensive. I mean, it's one of those beers with a lot of Belgians with like the big kind of fruity beers. You're thinking, is it on the nose? You're thinking like maybe there's something sour in this, like, but it's not sour at all. It's nice and sweet and fruity. It's very pleasant. But as I say, it's definitely a sipper.
Too late.
Ben.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. I think I crossed the year and Kieran started talking about yeast, because I meant to say that I totally agree. There's a lot of yeast character in it, and for that reason, which I found a lot, even though I wouldn't go so far as to say as cloying as maybe John is finding it, especially after drinking a dry stout. It probably seems a lot sweeter than it is. I like the fruit, I like the bitterness. And I quite enjoy that kind of yeasty profile, and I find there is almost like a savoury kind of aftertaste. And for that reason, I'd probably go with Saison. And I know that's a bit of a loose bracket to put something in, but that's my guess.
Okay, what do you guess the ABV is?
I'd say we haven't really had many strong beers tonight, and this does taste a lot stronger, but I think it's maybe 7 and a half.
Okay, Kieran, let's get back to you.
Yes, a beer that's growing on me as I drink it. I don't get the saison thing. I haven't tasted any of the Mescan beers, but to me it almost seems like the only one it could be. But having not tasted them, I can't say it is or it isn't. But I do think it's Belgian in style. It reminds me of a Belgian style. I mean, it could be barley wine maybe, but to me it has more of a Belgian yeast profile than a barley wine would. I think it's kind of dark red maybe. And I'd say between 7 and 8%. And I like it.
Good. Dave, is it opening up for you?
It's growing a bit, yeah. I still don't like it. No, it wouldn't be the style I would drink. I'm sorry to the brewery. I'm sure I probably visited and I probably have drank their beer, and I probably stocked a beer as well. It has grown on me a small bit, but I still don't like the style. I wouldn't be a big Belgian red ale fan anyway. I usually go for the darker Belgian beers or the lighter blonde ones. Funny feeling I just have this kind of sweetness of the red, or kind of a red style Belgian. But then when someone threw me there a while ago, they said barley wine, the booziness could be explained by that, so.
What do you reckon is the ABV?
I'm thinking about 8%, that's what I'm guessing.
8%.
And I'd say if we're kind of all kind of agreeing it is a kind of a Belgian style with the yeast and all, I think it can only be a Mescan beer. I'm guessing it could be the Mescan Red Triple, which has been recently released.
Okay. Ben, will I have the microphone in front of you in just a second?
Well, I started off on the wrong foot, and I mean to end on it. And I'm gonna say it's the only other people that I really enjoy their Belgians. It's not a style that I've ever seen them do. Is White Gypsy actually do, for me, the best versions of Irish, Belgian beers made in Ireland, and. So I'm just going to throw that one out there. So it's a White Gypsy effort at a saison, is my guess.
Okay. Why don't you guys take off your blindfold?
Chinese rice lager.
What did you guess? You
Mescan.
Red Triple. Score.
Bing, 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 bing. We have a winner.
Red Triple. You should have kept saying red.
Yeah.
It's not very red though, is it?
Well, I initially didn't like it at all. I have a bottle in the
You like it now, you're right about it.
You have a bottle of fish. Because you championed them. Remember when you went to visit them, and when you came back, you were pushing them quite a bit in the pub.
I chased him around Westport, Killian for a little while, and we stocked a beer for a little while. We were the only place outside of Westport and Dublin, I think, that stocked it for a while. You know.
But I'd say there's nothing wrong with not liking a beer.
I mean, that would be the style I would go for. Yeah.
Brewing would be very uninteresting if everybody liked the same beers.
Yes.
You know, there would be no variance in style if everybody liked it. So there's not every beer is for everybody. There's nothing wrong with. You're not saying it's a bad beer, and you don't like it.
No, that wouldn't be a style I would go for. I think you'd be very drunk if you're cutting the grass, John, with this one, though. You know? You'd be like Edward Scissorhands, I'd say. There'd be kind of a very creative lawn.
There's some very crooked lines going on. I'm happy that I picked out the style anyway. I said it was Belgian anyway, so it's kind of on the money, you know.
We kind of jumped on your bandwagon and picked up the brewery.
8%.
I got that right too. Yeah, score.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
even though I got it completely wrong at the beginning.
Yes.
When I got the Belgian in me, I hated it. I was like,
Do you know what's funny? You can be led by
other people's
first person's standpoint or whatever on a beer, you know.
Yeah, except for Kieran's blonde ale, whenever I was saying it was a stout.
I thought nobody was that.
No.
I was just saying that was an experiment to see if I could lead other people into.
You're gonna have to work on that. I'm afraid your power of persuasion.
I went too far.
Yeah.